Do you like my new potting mat? It's making me feel very fancy. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And it feels like ages since I last had a proper catch up with you guys. So today is just going to be a very chilled, chatty, planty video. I've got some planty things that I've been meaning to do for a while. If you've got things to do as well, then by all means do them along with me and we can have a catch up. I can answer some of your questions. And yes, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So one of the first things that I've been meaning to do for ages is get my philodendron painted lady onto a moss pole, because as you can see, her aerial roots are really quite crazy now. And although she's doing well in the cabinet where I've got her, she really does need something to climb now. She's growing very, very quickly. I really want to kind of help encourage some lovely big mature growth, and that's probably not going to happen if she doesn't have something to climb. So I'm going to be doing that to start with, and I'm actually not going to make my kind of conventional moss poles that I make, because when I was staying with Emma recently, she had some, they're like very thin sheets of plastic. I will find out the name and I'll link them below, but she had some of them. They basically just look like that, and they are just absolutely fantastic for making moss poles. I made one for my philodendron melanochrysum yesterday, and as you can see, it looks really neat, it looks really slick, but also it just helps to contain the moisture so much better. So that is what I am going to start with. I gave her soil a bit of a spritz before I started doing this because I hadn't watered her in a while, and I wanted to hopefully make things a little bit easier to handle. I also don't want to get my lovely new potting mat dirty. I know I said in my last video that this would be my fancy potting mat, and I'm jumping right in and I'm using it today, so I'm hoping that it doesn't get too messy. Oh wow, she's got some amazing roots. So yeah, I think it might actually be time to size up her pot as well. But so a general kind of life update with me. I don't really know where to start. I always say there's not a lot that's been happening. There has been a lot that's been happening. I've been really busy recently, but nothing kind of extremely exciting, I wouldn't say. I know a lot of you have been asking about the flat move, and oh my goodness, I kind of wish I hadn't even mentioned it on YouTube now, because I feel like every single time I talk about it, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be happening really soon. It's going to be happening next week, next month. And it just seems to be that every single time I start getting to the point where everything looks like it's going to happen really, really soon, then something else comes up to slow the whole thing down. And I know I have spoken to some of you about this, but the thing now is basically the building that I'm moving into is a block of flats, and there's a leak in one of the flats below me. And although it doesn't directly affect my flat, I might be liable to pay to help like chip in and cover the costs if I move in, and we don't know how much it's going to be. So we are now waiting on an estimate to see how much the works are going to be, how much I'm going to have to pay, and then we will go from there. So that is literally the last thing waiting to happen now, and after that I will be moving in. So it could be, as I keep saying, it could be next week, it could be next month. I want to say I'm really hoping it won't be next year, but I don't know. This has been going on for like 8 months now, and it's a very, very, very long, tedious process. So I'm really hoping that at some point soon you'll click onto one of my videos and I'll be like, woohoo, I'm in my new place, and it will all be fun and things will be slightly less stressful. I'll be able to put out more content. I'll be able to just kind of get my plants in places that I am happy with them, not have to work around other people so much, just be a little bit selfish for a while, which is something, I don't know if selfish is the right word. I don't like the word selfish, but just being able to spend time in my own space doing what I want to do without having to constantly work around other people, i.e. my mum and her boyfriend at the moment. So that will be really, really, really great. But apart from that, on the whole, things are fairly good. If you're over on my Patreon, you'll know that I had a really big bout of anxiety recently, which is something that I haven't really had to deal with, that much on a daily basis in the last few years. I got to a place for a while where I was like, I've really kind of got this under control. I feel really good. I feel really positive, and it didn't seem to really be affecting me that much. But I don't know, mental health is funny, isn't it? It just kind of, for no apparent reason, really, I think, apart from the fact that there's been so much kind of, I don't know, like external stresses in my life in regards to moving house and work and all that sort of stuff, which might not seem major, but sometimes the weirdest things can kick anxiety off. And I had a little period. I mean, I think about a month and a half where I was waking up every single morning just feeling really low, really churny in the tummy, not nice, not having any motivation for anything, not really even feeling like putting out content. You might notice that my content's kind of slowed down a little bit because I've just been working with what I feel I want to do on the day and what I'm able to do. Touch wood, I am now in a much better place than I was. It just, I don't know, as I say, it can just come out of nowhere, and it's really horrible to feel sometimes like you're not in control of your own life and not in control of your own feelings, because anxiety is something that is not always logical. There's not always a rhyme or reason behind it. And for anyone else that also gets this, I'm sure a lot of you will be able to relate. Once you kind of go into it and you think, oh my God, this is how I'm feeling, it just kind of takes over, and it can be really, really hard to pull yourself out of it. So that's been going on. That's just one of these things. It happens from time to time, and I'm just still learning to just accept that and not try and push myself on the days where I'm not feeling that I can. But yeah, as I've already said once, I'm repeating myself already, and it's the very beginning of this video, but as I've already said once, I'm just kind of taking things day by day. I'm being kind to myself. I'm allowing more time off camera to spend with my plants, because as I've said in so many of my videos, my plant care is my downtime, my meditation time, my me time. And it's so easy, I think, especially because YouTube at the moment is my full-time job, which is scary. But that crossover between something being your passion and then also being your livelihood can be a bit like, oh my God, I must do the thing that is meant to be my lovely meditative me time. I must do it on camera. And the pressure a lot of the time, and I think, again, this is myself putting the pressure on, but can often be like, well, if you're going to repot this plant, then film it for YouTube. Or if you're going to make a propagation box, you should be filming this for YouTube. And I know that's not the case. So I've really had to say to myself, no, you know what? If you want to have a quiet day doing planty things without filming, that is fine. And it's just getting used to that, because all of this is very new to me still. Like, this being a job, it's something that I'm still finding the balance with, and I'm absolutely loving it. Do not get me wrong, this is honestly the happiest I've ever been in a lot of ways, but I think it's just all about finding balance. I seem to bang on about that a lot in my videos, and I think I'm definitely talking to myself and trying to say to myself, come on Claire, a lot when I say that. But no, otherwise I had the plant swap on Saturday, which was so much fun. Oh my goodness, it was such a fantastic day. Emma and Lisa did such a brilliant job at organising it, and everyone was just so nice. I've said it in the video, but I think as well, and especially, I mean, for me, I do get social anxiety, but for me, anxiety tends to more just be like a thing that just hits for almost no reason, or like overthinky stuff. And seeing that huge room kind of just swimming with people just made me go like, oh my God, like there's so many plants, there's so many people, where do I start? This is really scary. And it was really scary, but I think once I kind of got into the flow of it, it was not as scary as I thought. And I also know from speaking to other people that a lot of other people felt the same. And that's a really lovely thing. Everybody was just really open about the way they were feeling. And if you went, oh my God, this is scary, someone else go, yeah, me too, I know. So it was a really fun day. As I said in that video, again, it was lovely to meet some of you there, and the plant community is just the best. I also have just realized I have just mindlessly cut this, and I didn't actually check to see if that would work. Okay, yeah, I think that should be enough. I could have done the plastic a little bit bigger. You basically just want to cut the plastic so that it's a bit bigger than the wire or whatever you're using at the front, so that when you bend it, it has room to stuff the moss in. But I think this should be okay. Sometimes when I do repot and chats, I get so carried away with chatting that I'm like, what am I actually doing with the plants? But I think we can make this work. It's all good. But yeah, one of you asked, how did the plant swap work? Like, what did you have to do? So, I mean, basically, it's kind of what it says on the tin. I'm just speaking from another plant swap, the one that I go to, but you basically just take a load of plants, either full plants, cuttings, wet sticks, seeds, bulbs, berries, anything like that, pretty much like anything planty that you would like to swap, that you're willing to get rid of. And then you turn up with it, you get a little spot on a table or chairs or just a space, and you kind of put all your stuff out. They give you labels and you can label everything so that everybody knows what everything is and whether or not it's rooted and all that sort of stuff. And then you basically just walk around the room and you see what other people have got. And if they've got something that you would really like, you can say either, would you be willing to swap that for that? And if they say yes, then cool, you swap. If they say no, you don't swap. Or for me, in my case this time, I just kind of let people come to me and they'd be like, oh, I really like that. Can I have that? And I'd be like, yeah, cool. And then they might say, do you want to look at my table? And then I might go and look at their table, or I just be like, take it. So yeah, it's really, really informal, really relaxed. It doesn't feel pressured at all. I don't think at either plant swap there's been any issues with anything at all. It's just a really relaxed, really lovely crowd of really lovely planty people. So yeah, it's fantastic. And I will definitely be going to the next one. I just couldn't get over, because I went to their first one and this was their second one, I just could not get over how the event had grown, like how many people turned up. And I think it's just amazing. Like, oh my goodness, I would go to plant swaps all the time if they were happening all the time. And so I will, as I say, 100% be going to this one from now on, because it's a great way of getting new plants without having to spend any money, and also meet other people in the community and form connections with people that you might not get to meet otherwise, because I know there's social media and stuff like that, but often it's not as easy to actually form relationships with people through that. But the next question was, have you ever drunk bought a pricey wishlist plant? I have. Being tipsy helps rationalize the pounds. Yes, I have. I've done that many a time. I probably do that too much. I'm often very good at being like, no, Claire, right, you're on a, or not even on a plant ban. Like, I'm just not going to buy any more plants for the time being. I'm satisfied with my collection how it is. I don't need any more plants. And then I'll have a glass of wine off you and I'll end up on Etsy and I'll be like, oh, well, that's a nice plant. And then I'll go onto someone's shop and then I'll be like, oh, they've got other nice plants. And before I know it, there are lots in my basket. And I have definitely spent a lot of money on plants when I've had a few drinks, and it's very dangerous. I know some people do it with clothes and shoes and stuff like that, and I don't think I've ever done it with that, but I'm not really a very fashiony person, but I have done it with plants a lot. I've actually, oh, this is really bad. This is so bad. I've got a credit card now that I specifically use for plants because I don't want to keep hitting my bank balance so hard, and I know that's not a good thing at all. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just being honest and saying that is what I do. And in fact, I have actually got a plant here that I'm pretty sure I ordered after a couple of glasses of wine, my Monstera Thai constellation, that I just want to check in this video doesn't have root rot, because I'm a little bit concerned. But this is one that I bought, I am pretty sure, when I'd had a drink, and I mean, I don't regret it, if that helps at all. I'm not saying you should get drunk and buy plants, but I don't regret that decision. At the time, maybe I did, because it was expensive. But yeah, I mean, I think we've all done it, haven't we? I don't even have to be drunk. Sometimes I'm just a bit tired, or I want to cheer myself up, or there's lots of reasons where I kind of justify buying new plants, and I know that I shouldn't. And I mean, to be honest, at the moment, I'm trying to be very good about that. I have just had the plant swap, and I've got some beautiful plants. I've ticked some things off my wish list, and I am genuinely really fulfilled with the plants in my collection, and I know that I don't need any more at the moment. And so I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm on a plant ban, just because I think when I use the word ban, it makes me feel like I really can't do it, and therefore it's on my mind a lot more, and I probably want to do it more. So I'm just going to say that I'm not planning on buying any more plants at the moment for the time being, but we'll see. Have any of you lot ever drunk bought wishlist plants? And if so, what were they? And do you regret it as well? Let me know in the comments. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I think you're allowed to treat yourself, and we can all celebrate the fact that we all make mistakes from time to time. The thing I really like about these polls, doing them this way as well, is that yesterday when I was doing it for my Melanochrysum, and I also did it for some SDI cuttings that I potted up, they're so much easier to kind of hold in place in the pot, because I think with the round ones, they can kind of wobble about a little bit, and sometimes you have to really kind of pack in the soil to stabilize them. And I think with these ones, because they do have a circular or like half circle back, they fit really nicely with the pot, and they just kind of are held in place a little bit better. So I'm kind of thinking from now on, I might do all of my poles like this. And in fact, one of the things that I was hoping to do in this video is wrap some plastic backing around some of my existing moss poles, just again to help contain the humidity, contain all of the moisture so that they don't dry out as quickly, because I am doing the drip cup method still, where I just put a cup with a little hole on top and let them drip down through. But if I have a few days where I forget to fill the cups again, we're back to square one and they've dried out, and they, I mean, not a pain to hydrate, but they can be a little bit time consuming. So I feel like this might be a massive time saver and hopefully keep the plants a little bit happier as well. The next question was, how do you get leaves to size up? Some of my plants are maturing, but the leaves aren't getting big. I mean, it really comes down to the type of plants. I will speak from my experience with things like white princess philodendron and stuff like that, because I know I've been able to achieve some beautiful growth in them. And one of the first things, I mean, again, as I say, it does depend on the type of plants, but assuming it's a climber like the philodendron is, using a decent moss pole is really important, something that they can kind of form a root system of their own from the aerial roots, and kind of that helps to offer them lots of micronutrients. Obviously, light is probably the most important thing. And that doesn't just mean giving them loads and loads and loads of really intense light. It just means obviously studying their natural conditions, looking at the environments that they tend to grow best in the wild, figuring out how you can kind of replicate that in your own home as much as possible, whether that's using grow lights or moving them closer to a window, or in some cases moving them back from a window if they don't like as much light. And then obviously it really does come down to the nutrients in the soil as well, because I think, and I did speak about this in a video fairly recently, fast growth and healthy growth are often very confused. A lot of the time people think if a plant is growing very quickly, then it must be super healthy. And that's definitely not the case, because you can have a plant that grows very quickly but does produce very small growth. And I used an example of this with my pothos plant in, I think it might have been my winter care tips video recently. And I know part of the reason with that is that that plant just has not been in the right soil. It hasn't been in a good quality soil, and it hasn't been getting all of the nutrients it needs. So although, yeah, it is pushing out lots of growth, it's not, the growth it's giving me does not look healthy, if that makes sense, even though it's not browning or damaged. It's just quite small, quite stretched, and it just doesn't look as good as it could. So yeah, as I've mentioned again in one of my videos recently, I am doing a little soil experiment at the moment. I'm basically looking at how different types of soils affect the growth and the health of different types of plants. And I'm really excited to kind of share the results with you guys, because I'm learning more and more about the importance of good quality soil and what it actually offers your plants in the way of nutrition. And that is something that is really important to take into consideration. I'm currently using Soil Ninja soil for most of my mixes, and it is such brilliant stuff. It isn't treated with any nasty chemicals, as a lot of shop bought soils are, and it just tends to do really good things for my plants. I'm also obviously fertilizing. I'm still fertilizing all of my plants that are actively growing. I'm using liquid gold leaf fertilizer, which is really great actually when it comes to things about soil, because it doesn't harm the microbes in the soil, whereas a lot of other kind of standard fertilizers that you see in garden centers will. And this, I think, is definitely something that has helped me to achieve some really lovely, healthy, big growth with my plants. Again, as I say, taking things like my white princess philodendron and my pink princess philodendron, because I feel like those are the ones that people usually ask about, because they've got insanely big and they are doing really well. And those are the main things that I've focused on for them. But yeah, I'll happily make a more in-depth video on that if you guys would like to see it. Again, let me know in the comments and I will add it to my list. That being said as well, literally any video ideas that you guys have got that you'd like to see, always do let me know, because I do read all of your comments, and I've got a list of things that I would really like to make, but I would like to make things that you would like to watch as well. So anything that you want me to cover, let me know and I will make sure to try and cover it at some point. Okay, so that is the moss pole done, and I think it looks really neat. I think it looks really cool. I think it is going to work a lot better than the ones I'm currently using. So I'm gonna figure out what size pot, I think. Whoa, I need to clear some space on my table. What size pot this one is gonna work best in. I have brought a couple of pots over and kind of thinking, oh, with the pole as well, will that work? Yeah, I think that would work pretty well. Okay, I'm gonna just put some soil at the bottom of the pot and try and fill. In fact, I could put a little bit more moss in the bottom of the moss pole because it doesn't quite reach the top of the soil. And I know I always decorate my own nursery pots like this one, and I really like doing it that way. It saves so much money and it looks really pretty and it's got good drainage. But the only annoying thing is that when you do add quite heavy moss pole to that, it can mean that the plant's a little bit unstable. So it usually means you kind of have to find a wall or something like that to kind of lean your plants, where can I put this? Lean your plant up against so that it's not gonna fall over. Some of them do end up being more secure than you would think, but I feel like maybe this might need a bit of support. Oh my goodness, those aerial roots. I'm just gonna try and encourage them into the moss pole so that hopefully they can start forming their own little root system and help encourage the plant to grow. Oh damn it, I just snapped a bit off one of them. God, they're so fragile. Okay, and I am just gonna tie that plant to the moss pole as well because I don't think it's ready to cling on by itself. I really can't believe how quickly this plant has grown though. This is the tiny little cutting I got from Emma when we did our mystery plant swap, and it's just sized up so quickly. Again, I know I always bang on about the cabinet, but it has just done so brilliantly in there. And I kind of think I might not be able to fit it in there now that I've got it on a bigger pole. So one of the first things I'm going to be doing when I move house is setting up my bigger cabinet and getting lots of my plants in there. And oh, I'm just dreaming about that at the moment. I'm so excited to get that cabinet set up. I think they're going to be so happy. It's going to look so beautiful. I've currently just got it sitting in my mum's living room, completely empty, and I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I want to fill you with plants, but I want to do a full setup video with Emma, and it's not the time yet. It's not quite the time. So for now, I am probably, I mean, the humidity in this room at the moment is actually very good. I've barely needed to run my humidifiers at all because I've just been leaving pots of water around. I've been leaving them on top of my heat mats and stuff like that. And when the water evaporates, it just helps to create lots of humidity in the room. And touch wood, at the moment, they all do seem fairly happy. So that is currently working well. So if it doesn't go back in the cabinet, I'm hoping it should do okay in the rest of the room. You do sometimes just have to be a bit careful when you take a plant out of a cabinet setting and introduce it to kind of standard household settings, because obviously they are so acclimatized to really high humidity, lots of heat, lots of light, all that sort of stuff. So it's usually, if possible, quite a good idea to kind of ease them into it. So in fact, I might even pop this one into a plastic bag or something like that, just for the first few days, and kind of gradually allow a little bit more of this climate to reach it, if that makes sense. Kind of like acclimating a plant. In fact, exactly like acclimating a plant. And I don't think this one's particularly sensitive as far as I know, but I have only ever known it in the cabinet. So I will let you know. I'll let you know how I get on with it. I just want to try and get that final aerial root in if I can. And there we go. Oh my goodness, she looks even more beautiful on a moss pole. I often feel like even if you've got quite a small plant, once you get it onto a moss pole, it immediately helps the plant to look a lot more mature. And I don't know why that is. I guess the pole, oh, in fact, the pole is still a little bit wobbly. I'm just gonna pack some more soil around it. But yeah, it just helps to kind of help the plant to stand a bit more upright and just look a little bit more well established. I think, at least. Maybe it doesn't look like that at all on camera. I don't know. What do you think? Does it? Cool, and it does actually stand up perfectly by itself as well, which is really, really great. I thought I was going to have to lean it, and also considering the soil hasn't been watered yet, I think it will be fine pretty much wherever I put it. Famous last words, but I'm hoping it should be fine wherever I put it. But yeah, I'm going to pop that to one side and I will give it a really good drink after I finish filming. So next, I do just want to look at the roots of my Thai constellation because, as I say, I'm really hoping they're okay. The plant looks okay, but one of the roots started poking out the bottom of the pot quite recently and it has gone completely black. And obviously, if there is any rot, then I want to be able to deal with it straight away because this was my drunk wish list plant. This is one that okay, I think it's looking good. It's one that I really don't want anything to happen to. However, I think it might be ready for a pot size up, which is very surprising considering, is it? Let me have a look at the roots and then I'll let you know. But this is one that I only repotted fairly recently. So the majority of the roots are looking good, but there are just a couple there that towards the end are looking a little bit brown. So I'm gonna chop them back. And yeah, now that I've taken quite a lot of the soil off and I'm actually having a proper look at the root system, although it does look fairly fine and I have taken quite a bit off some of the roots. I know I said about pot sizing up. I'm definitely not going to pot size up, and I'm actually considering putting this back in sphagnum moss just for a little bit longer. I know Thai constellations can be quite prone to root rot. This is my first Thai constellation I've ever had, but that is one thing I've heard from so many people, and the fact that that started to happen already, just, I don't know, my gut is saying maybe leave it in moss for a little bit longer until the root system is a little bit better established. So yeah, I'm going to grab a cup, and I think I'm going to keep it in my cabinet because it does seem happy there. It has given me a new leaf. In fact, it's given me 2 new leaves in the time that I've had it. I did lose the bottom baby leaves, but that does often happen after shipping, so I wasn't too worried about that. But I'm gonna get it back into moss for a while. There's no harm. This way as well, I'll just be able to keep a really close eye on the roots, and if anything does start going wrong, then I will be able to tell a lot quicker. I did get quite a few questions about caring for houseplants during winter, and do I have any tips for this? I've got a question here that says, it's my first winter with plants and I'm scared. I did make a video about this last week, I think. I basically went through everything that I was doing for my plants over the winter, how I keep them happy over the colder, darker months, and I also put in some energy saving tips as well, because I know the energy crisis at the moment is just awful, and I know so many of us are struggling, so I will link that video in the description box below, and I hope it helps to answer some questions and keep your plants happy. But if you're having issues, leave a comment down below or on the comments of that video, and again, I will try and cover them in a video at some point. Okay, that cup is a little on the small side, I think. Oh, in fact, I've got a bubble tea cup that I saved recently, so I think I'm gonna grab that. Where did I put that? Where did I put that? Yeah, there we go. I think this is going to be, yeah, much better. Somebody also asked if a moisture meter reads at 1 to 2 at some spots and 5 to 6 at others in the same pot, do you water or not? So I don't actually use a moisture meter. I just stick my finger down into the soil. So I had to consult my friend Emma for this, who's Good Growing on YouTube, because I know she uses a moisture meter for literally all of her plants. And she basically just said, if it's a plant such as a calathea, for example, that does enjoy a fairly damp soil, then yes, maybe water. But if it's a plant such as a philodendron or a monstera or something like that, that doesn't mind its soil drying out slightly, then maybe give it a little bit more time before you do go ahead and water. I am actually thinking, I did have a moisture meter ages ago, and I'm thinking about getting one again. Not that I don't trust my own judgment, but I just know that at this time of year, it can be quite difficult to kind of gauge your plants a bit because central heating and stuff like that. And it can just make it all a little bit trickier, so perhaps I will get a moisture meter. Out of interest, how many of you actually use moisture meters, and how many of you just use the finger sticking technique or the pot lifting technique? I'd be really interested to know, because I always find it really interesting learning about other people's plant care routines, because I know everybody's really different, and there's some things that are going to work for some people that might not work for me, and there's things that might work for me that might not work for you. So yeah, do let me know about that, and let me know how you've got on with it, because I haven't used a moisture meter in years, and that's not for any specific reason. It's not because I was like, oh, I'm above this now, I don't need a moisture meter. It's just that I don't know, I don't think I could be bothered to stick a moisture meter into the soil when I was like, I've just got my finger. Yeah, I will definitely order one, because also Emma, who, again, the one I always bang on about nowadays, one of my best planty friends, Good Growing, she did a video a little while ago where she tried my watering routine, because I water my plants in a very different way to how she waters hers. And I mean, just comparing people's plant care routines is so fascinating. So I'd be really like, if you guys have anything that you're like, oh, this is something that Claire does that I do really differently or anything like that, let me know, because I'm so interested to learn from you guys as much as I'm trying to help you learn from me. I do make mistakes a lot of the time. So it would be fascinating to know a little bit more. Right, okay, so I'm just gonna keep that moss hydrated. I'm gonna monitor the roots, put it back in my cabinet, and hopefully it will do absolutely fine now. As I say, the plant itself isn't actually suffering, but I was just a little bit concerned, and I'm glad that I did take a look at the roots. So fingers crossed for this plant. Again, keep you updated with it. But what did I want to do next? I've got a few things. I'm not sure about this one. Okay, let's do the one that I'm not sure about. So my Philodendron gloriosum, it's not doing, I mean, it's doing okay. I'll show you it. Hang on. Oh, if I can reach it. It's giving me some really beautiful new growth. Like, it's just popped out that leaf, and I think that is so beautiful. But the original leaves, I'm really struggling with. And I know that sometimes it can just drop the original leaves if it's trying to conserve its energy and if it's trying to kind of produce new growth. But I don't know, I feel like it shouldn't be struggling this much. And it's in a good substrate, it hasn't got pests, it's got plenty of humidity, it's not getting too much light. It should, in theory, be doing better than it is. So I would like to just take a look at the roots of this plant as well. And I mean, oh, I was kind of thinking, I was like, do I, don't I? And it would be very brave of me to do it, but I'm kind of thinking maybe I chop it up and I try and preserve the healthy section of plant, and I don't know what I do with the rest of the plant. Maybe, I don't know, just maybe separate them. I'm just gonna look at the roots and I'm gonna see what they're doing and then I'm gonna make a decision. Whoa. Okay, so it's got a lot of roots. I'll try and show you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you because soil's going everywhere. I'll try and zoom in on the camera and show you. But okay, so the roots actually do look healthy. The roots do look healthy. I was going to say there's some brown ones here, but they're just very spindly ones towards the top that, yes, I can absolutely take back. But the majority of its root system, oh my goodness, stuff's going everywhere. Does look like it's doing fairly well. I'm not gonna try and get all the soil off, but it's actually not looking to be that difficult. I'm just gonna try and get a better idea of what's going on. The next question is, what are your honest thoughts on pot? I'm guessing you mean pon. I mean, maybe you mean pot. I could give you my honest opinions on pot, but I feel like that's probably more of a Patreon topic because I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube. I'm gonna assume you mean pon. So my honest thoughts on pon. I have had a very mixed experience with pon, and I know I said a while ago that I would make a full video on this, and I can still do that. But in a nutshell, I have struggled with pon. Pon for me, on the whole, with a couple of exceptions, has seemed to make my plant care, just when I use pon by itself, a little bit more challenging. And I know that completely defeats the point of it. I know a lot of people use it and it completely reduces their plant care and they're like, oh, this is amazing. I don't know why, I just haven't got on that well with it. So this plant here, I actually started in pure pon, and that's when all of the issues started happening and I was like, oh my goodness, maybe it's because I'm just not loving pon. And in fact, maybe it wasn't to do with the pon. Maybe it was to do with something else because it's not currently in pon. It's just in a chunky mix with pon mixed in. I think with pon, just because you have to kind of rely on the water reservoir at the bottom, I feel like I can't gauge like the soil in the same way. Of course, I can't gauge the soil. There is no soil. But you know what I mean? When I've got plants in soil, I feel like I'm able to kind of properly check it. I know what to look for, and with pon, I just kind of don't. And maybe that's just because I haven't properly taken the time to get to know it or play about with it in the right way. But I've got my alocasia pink dragon in pon at the moment that Emma gave me, and she's one that has so much luck with growing alocasia in pon. She said it's like the best thing ever, and I know a lot of people get on really well with it, and I just don't think I'm one of those people for whatever reason. So currently, that in a nutshell is my honest thoughts on pon. I'm not saying that won't change. I think I will continue to play about with it and kind of try different plants with it and try them in self-watering pots and in different ways. But right now, I've got to say I'm not particularly loving it. But right, so looking at this, I can see it does have a fairly decent root system on the new section of the plant. And do I chop it? Oh, part of me really wants to and part of me really doesn't. I think if I was to divide this into two separate plants, then I could focus more on the healthier looking section of plant and maybe rehabbing the not so healthy section. And then if the not so healthy section was still looking not so healthy after I'd kind of played about some stuff, done some stuff to it, then maybe I could start it again as wet sticks. The thought of chopping it does make me sad and a little bit nervous, but the thought of having a really lovely healthy plant makes me happy. So yeah, I'm gonna chop it, and I'm a little bit scared, but I'm just gonna do it. I can't believe I just chopped her in half. Oh my goodness. Okay, now I need to be careful of these roots because they are very tangled. Right, so this is the quote-unquote healthy section of plants, and it doesn't have the biggest root system in the world, but the roots it has do look very, very healthy. So I think if I pop that back up by itself now, that should, I hope, do a lot better. I'm gonna do that. I think I'll probably keep that in the trough planter. This section here, the bit that hasn't been doing quite so well, I mean, the roots on this section look healthy. I actually think the original bit, the original stem that it came with there, that isn't looking the greatest. And I think the plant could probably afford to lose that bit. So I might chop that bit back and then pop that bit into my prop box, and hopefully at some point it will bounce back as well. Wow, I'm being so daring. I'm being so daring in this video. Oh wow, yeah, okay, so it has got a fantastic root system on this section as well. Look at that. I really do think there is a lot of hope for this plant. I mean, to be honest, I could put them alongside each other, but I think my gut feeling is that maybe, I obviously can't fit this one in my cabinet at the moment, but I'd quite like to get it in contained conditions to kind of properly monitor it. I feel like maybe if I pot this in just a normal pot for now and then put it in a prop box or something like that, like an upright propagation box, then I can kind of create my own little cabinet. And do I do that in soil or do I do that in moss? Wow, why is this such a hard decision? Perhaps I'll do it in moss for now. In fact, perhaps I'll do both of them in moss for now. Okay, I think for the time being, I'm going to pop them both into moss. I think this one, although it has got a good root system, it can afford to kind of beef up a little bit. And I think moss is a really good way to help plants do that. So I'm going to pop them both into moss for the time being. And if you guys have any thoughts on it, let me know in the comments, and I will come back to this in a video soon and I'll give you some updates on them and then make more of a decision, because I know I'm being very indecisive about this. Oh, I mean, just look at that new leaf. It's so beautiful. And the Gloriosum is just such a beautiful philodendron. It's, I would say, probably one of my favorites. And it's just really, it's made me so sad that this one hasn't done very well. I mean, it's not doing awfully, but I feel like this section of plant probably just needs to conserve its energy a little bit. And I'm hoping I've made the right decision by doing this. I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? But yeah, right, okay, I'm gonna get another bubble teacup, I think, for this section, and then that one I can probably squeeze into a smaller cup. Can't actually find the other cup, so I'm just gonna use clear plastic pots, and then yeah, at least then I'll be able to still monitor the roots. Someone asked, what other pets have you had in the past, or would you like in the future? So I, growing up, had a lot of animals. Me and my mum always used to joke that we had our own little zoo because we are both absolutely animal obsessed. Animals have just always, for me, been a lot easier to get on with than people on the whole. So we've had, oh my goodness, we've had, most of them have been rescues because we've made the mistake of going to a rescue centre and then fallen in love with them and ended up bringing them home. But we've had rescue rabbits, we've had rescue cats, rescue dogs, hamsters, goldfish. We've actually currently at the moment, my mum, bless her, has got this never-ending cycle of goldfish because her ex's daughter won a goldfish at a fun fair, which, I mean, I totally don't agree with. I think it's absolutely awful. I think it is animal abuse and I don't think they should be allowed to do that. But anyway, she won a goldfish in a bag at a fun fair. She brought it home and my mum was like, oh my goodness, we need to give this fish the best life. So got it this massive tank, got it a friend. And then eventually, after a few years, original goldfish died. Other friends kept going on. Mum bought a friend for that goldfish. Then, I mean, the cycle's just continued and it's now probably 15 years later and she's still got goldfish. And the thing is, I mean, she likes the goldfish, but she doesn't really want the responsibility of cleaning out the tank and all that sort of stuff. But she just can't let go of them now that she has them. So yeah, so goldfish, I feel like I've spoken about the giant African land snail thing in a video before. Have I? I don't know if I have. I will say it again in case I haven't. So a girl up the road from me when I was probably about 7 had a giant African land snail. And I don't know, like, I know a lot of people don't like snails. I like snails a lot, but these ones don't look like normal snails. They've got beautiful kind of curly shells, a bit more like sea snails or something like that. And I thought it was just the coolest pet in the world. And I really, really wanted one of my own. I begged my mum to get one and eventually she caved. I'm sure I've told this story before, but Anyway, if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. But I got 2 giant African land snails called Bonzo and Sambo, and I loved them so much. They were my pride and joy. I really enjoyed looking after them. And then one day I was cleaning out their tank and I found a load of eggs in the soil, and I don't know why I felt really bad about it. I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have let this happen. But instead of telling anyone like my mum, I just decided to rebury the eggs and hope that the problem would go away, and it didn't. They all hatched. And they do grow very, very, very quickly. And I mean, they can get to about that big. They can get to be absolutely huge. And we had, I mean, to be precise, we had 605 of them. We tried, we tried absolutely everything to kind of get the place that we originally bought them from to take them back. They'd said that they would, if there were any birth accidents, they said that they would take them back. And when we approached them, they were like, nope, sorry, that's not happening. So we contacted loads of pet shops. We contacted zoos. We actually took them away on holiday with us, on a UK holiday, because we found a place, I think it was in the Cotswolds or somewhere, that said, or Somerset, maybe it was Somerset, that said that they might be able to take them. And turns out they couldn't. We just took the snails on holiday. And then eventually we found a place that was willing to take them, but they needed to know exactly how many they were taking. So me and my mum sat down one day and we literally counted every single snail, and we had 605 of them. So that was fun. I think I did keep one of the original babies for myself as well, but I just had to be very, very careful that that didn't happen again. So yeah, I've had some weird and wonderful pets, and oh my goodness, I had the most lovely hamster called Pumpkin, who was more like a guinea pig. He was just the most beautiful hamster, and I still, like, weirdly, I still think about him a lot. He was very, very special, and he was a pet that was in my life when there was a lot of family stuff going on, and my nana died, and he was really kind of like my little friend at the time, and he would come everywhere with me. I'd just pop him in my dressing gown pocket and I'd kind of walk around the house and he'd be on my shoulder. And as I say, he was, for a hamster, he was very, very cuddly. Like, he wasn't constantly running about and doing stuff. He was just very, I want to say, bonded with me. We were very bonded. But he kept going for quite a long time in hamster years. He was quite old when eventually he met a very sad fate, and it is so sad. So the week that my nana died, which was, I mean, God, it was such a sad week anyway, but the week that she died, he'd basically managed to nibble through one of the bars on the top of his cage. So to make sure he didn't get out when we were away that night, we'd put a load of really heavy books on top of it. I do not know how it happened. I honestly don't know how it happened. And to this day, I still feel absolutely awful about it. But he'd managed to somehow get through the cage another way, and the books had flipped. And yeah, I won't go into detail because it's not nice, but he was no longer. And that, oh God, I mean, losing a pet, any pet, is just so tragic at any time. But that really hit me hard. I loved him so much. But my nana had also really loved this hamster, and I'm not sure I should really be saying this on YouTube because I know it's not allowed, but because my nana had also loved this hamster so much, we managed to sneak him in and bury him with my nana. Nobody knows about that. You guys now know. Keep it quiet. So yeah, they are now resting in peace together. God, these Repot and chats are always so weird. I always hop on here and I never know what I'm going to be talking about. And then stuff like that comes out and I'm just like, oh my God, how did I get onto that? But thank you for asking such interesting questions. And I'm sorry that I always go on such weird tangents with them. But yeah, those are the pets that I've had in my life. And on that note, this one is done. I think I will try and do the upright... Oh dear, I'm just thinking about what would happen if someone had never watched my videos before and they tuned in halfway through and they just heard that. They would think that this was such a weird channel. I mean, maybe it is a weird channel. I don't know. Maybe my channel is weird. Anyway, I think I am going to do the upright propagation box thing for this one, and maybe I'll do it for this one as well. I think I am, just for the time being, and I'm going to wait and see what you come back with, and then I will go from there. So yeah, I'm just going to pop this one into sphagnum moss as well, and while I do, I will ask another question. The next one's a fun one as well. If your house was on fire and you could only take one plant, what would it be and why? I've had questions like this before, and as you know, if you watch my videos, I am very indecisive, and I honestly don't know. I've got I've got like, I love all of my plants in different ways. Like I was looking like my bird of paradise here is such a special plant. I love it so much and I can't imagine my house without it. I mean, I would miss all of them greatly if I couldn't have them anymore. But right now, I can tell you some that I'd be willing to leave behind. Not that I don't love them, but I can tell you some. I'm just looking around the room. So my philodendron micans, I don't know why, like I do really like that plant, but I don't feel that emotionally attached to it. My Hoya crinklate, it's been giving me a lot of grief. That one could stay in the fire. Probably my string of turtles, not again that I don't really like that plant. It just isn't really doing a huge amount at the moment. And I think I'd notice if any of my plants were gone. Like I often think if someone was to come in and like take a cutting of my plant or like take one plant, would I notice? And I think I would, just because I spend so much time looking at my plants and I know where all their places are. But that's one that I probably wouldn't notice as much. Okay, right, the one that I would save would be, I think would probably be my white princess philodendron. Just, I don't know, I've grown her from such a little thing and I'm so proud of how she's doing. I could say the same about my pink princess, but I don't know, my white princess just really does it for me and she is one that is a constant favourite of mine. So I think I'd probably save her. But that's such a hard question. What would you guys save if you had to, if you just had like 5 seconds to grab a plant and run, which plant would it be? Because I always feel really bad on all my other plants when I don't say them, because I genuinely do love them as well. And I've got like, I don't know, I love them all. And it's too hard a question. It's too hard a question, but let me know what you would pick. I still can't quite believe that I've just chopped up my Philodendron gloriosum. I really did not think that I would ever have the guts to do that. And I'm hoping that it's a really good decision and that she's now gonna grow much better. But I do definitely need to get to the bottom of what's going on with the other cutting. There we go, perfect. I don't actually know if I'm gonna be able to fit them all into the box. I might be able to squeeze one into my cabinet, but that's looking fairly unlikely at the moment because it's ridiculously full. I did actually go through yesterday and I took some of my smaller plants out of my cabinet to make space for some bigger ones, and I popped them into a prop box. I'm thinking at some point soon I might do a propagation box tour, because I've set up some really cool prop boxes in the last couple of days and I'm really excited about the things in there. So if you want to see that, let me know and I'll happily make it. Oh, it's not very secure. I might need to stake it. Should I stake it? Oh no, I think it's okay. I just left a gap in the moss by accident. Okay, right. I'll do one more just because my Philodendron Splendid was the one, that I originally brought over to do on this video. But as you can see, it's really seriously sized up recently. Like, it's giving me beautiful growth and I'm so excited about it. I honestly can't get over how beautifully this plant is growing for me. I feel very, very, very lucky. Oh, it's getting caught on another leaf. But the bottom growth here, as you can see, is starting to turn, and that can just happen sometimes as the plant matures. This leaf has been looking a little bit dodgy for a while, but it's only started to kind of properly yellow in the last few days. And I'm thinking what I'd really like to do is, oh my goodness, that leaf is annoying me, the big leaf. What I would really like to do is be able to just kind of preserve the size of the growth at the top and get that going as a new plant. And I'm not going to chop it today. I'm not going to take that risk. What I would like to do though is just encourage the aerial roots to start forming more of a root system inside the pole. Oh my goodness. I'll move back so that I can show you. Form more of a root system inside the pole, so that then when I do come to chop it, I should be able to just essentially plant it straight back into soil without having to go through a whole long propagation phase. And this is one of the poles that currently I have just been very bad at keeping properly hydrated. And I know that if it's not hydrated, then the root system can't fully form, or it might dry out and then you will essentially have to start again. So what I was thinking, I might just remove that bottom leaf because I don't think it is doing the plant any favours currently. Goodbye, original leaf. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of the plastic that I showed you that I used for the back of the first moss pole, and I'm just going to attach it to the back of the current pole, so that again it just kind of serves the same purpose and just kind of contains a bit of extra humidity, and that way I think I'm gonna be able to get it rooting a lot quicker. I'm literally under this leaf now. I think I need to have a rearrange in here, but yeah, I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna be able to do this successfully on camera. It might be a little bit awkward. I'll give it a go and see how we get on. Oh, I think I must have just put, oh, it's the sphagnum moss, a wet plant on me because it looks like I have wet myself. I haven't, I promise. One of you asked, what's a plant that you have owned but wouldn't own again? I've got quite a few, to be honest. I know in my plant swap video I said that I probably wouldn't own an Alternanthera party time again, just because, I mean, maybe I just wasn't vigilant enough with chopping it back. I just didn't like the way that it grew. It looked very leggy very quickly, and I said it in that video, but I just thought it looked a bit like a weed. So I didn't get on brilliantly with that plant, and it didn't really entice me in the way that I thought it would. So probably not that one again. Probably not. I think one that I know I definitely probably wouldn't own again is an orchid, just like a standard orchid, just because, I don't know, I've said it before, but they don't really do anything for me. Like, I think they can look very pretty in other people's houses, but I don't know, I've never really had the motivation to care for mine when I've had them, which I know sounds like a really bad thing. Like, obviously I wouldn't just deliberately let it die, but it's just a plant that I'm just a bit like, meh, I don't know. I didn't really like it. And I think another one that, I mean, I'd actually like to give this one another go, but I had very bad luck with last time. I got what was it? It was a type of fern. I'll put the name on the screen, but I got a type of fern from House of Kojo about a year ago maybe, and it was really beautiful. I love the look of it, and it literally started going wrong within the first 2 days that I had it. And I know ferns need high humidity, and I'm usually fine with them. I felt like I did everything right, and the roots were fine. It wasn't particularly cold at the time it travelled. I just don't know what it was, but anyway, it hated me, and I became quite scared of it, and I thought about getting another one, but then I was like, no, it scares me. So maybe I will do that again. Or can I be bothered to put myself through that again? I don't know. Maybe I would own that plant again. I'm not quite sure. I also kind of feel like, though, because my love for plants kind of cycles quite a lot, there's quite a few that maybe I'm not loving right now and I might be ready to get rid of, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, actually I've decided that I do love this plant. Kind of like my philodendron golden dragon that I have actually chopped up now. I have sent some cuttings out to a friend for a mystery plant swap, and that is the only reason I would have chopped her. I have kept a cutting back for myself, but that's one that I really didn't like and I didn't think I'd own again, and now I really want to own. So it's a difficult question. It's a difficult question. What about you? Do you have any plants, any of you, that you would be like, nope, never again? And if so, why? I often feel like if there's a plant that I just haven't done well with, like the fern, for example, then I kind of want to, I don't know, I kind of want to just try it again, just to make myself believe that I can do it, even if I don't particularly like the plant, which I know is weird, and it's just me being competitive with myself, I guess. I also feel like I'm going to regret using my nice fancy potting mat for this video because I have made such a mess. When I first showed you it the other day, I was like, I'm just going to use it for propagating and nice neat things, and that's the first video I've used it for, and that hasn't happened. So luckily she did, Jungle Floor Rosie, who gifted this to the raffle prize that I won at the plant swap. She did send me care instructions for it and how to clean it and all that sort of stuff. So I will definitely be needing to use those. So this is gonna be a little bit fiddly, I think. I'm just gonna try and attach it with cable ties. Ooh, and I'm hoping that it should work. Ah, is it gonna work? Can't see what I'm doing. Oh, this is gonna be properly fiddly. I also know that a lot of you have asked about using the stainless steel wrap that I use for the moss poles and what's the potential with rust with that. I know that obviously stainless steel does have the potential to rust. I have never experienced it. I know I haven't been making moss poles in this way for that long, but the reason that I went with this stuff is because my mum uses it in the garden. She's been using it for years and years and years and has never had an issue with rust. So yes, it is a possibility. I mean, in the next few years, I'm thinking I would probably have changed out my moss poles anyway, but so far I've had no issues and they seem to have been doing really good things for my plants. So obviously if anything changes, then I will let you know. But for the time being, it does seem to be working fairly well. Damn it, I need to cut this a little bit more, and I've already cable tied one bit. I'm aware that now I'm attached to the plant, there's a risk of me pulling it over, and I am a fairly clumsy person, so I'm just going to try not to do that. Perfect. Perfect. I think that should work better. And now I just need to attach one more bit to the top so that it'll reach. The next question is, do you have predatory mites and are they successful? So when I first started using predatory mites, which actually wasn't that long ago, it was only a few months ago, I didn't have the best luck with them. And to be completely honest, I don't think I released enough of them. I think I just kind of got a load of sachets, hung them on some plants and hoped that that would do the trick, and it didn't. And so I was a little bit reluctant to use them again, but I recently got, I think I got about 2,000 of them for spider mites, and I put all of my plants that had spider mites in a contained area. I released all of the mites and touch wood, I haven't had spider mites again since. So, sorry, this is very noisy. So yes, I would say I'm still figuring out predatory mites, but I would love to make my plant care more natural. I'm really trying to steer away from kind of pesticides and even things like hydrogen peroxide and stuff like that at the moment, because I'm trying to explore more natural ways of doing things. And so I think, and actually this is a video that I want to make quite soon, I'm thinking that I might get a load of predatory mites and do a little kind of experiment showing you what's going on with the plants beforehand, how long they take to work, maybe looking at some of the predatory mites up close and kind of seeing what they do. And hopefully from that you guys can get a better understanding of it, and I can as well, because as I say, it is something that's still so new to me. But at the moment, if you use them correctly, I think that they are very good and they are doing good things for me. The company that I've used so far is called Dragonfly. I know there is, I think there's a few other companies that I know of, but there's another one called Ladybirds that I haven't used. But yeah, I will make a video on that at some point soon, because I mean, I was kind of waiting until I moved because I don't want to go ahead and release like 10,000 predatory mites in my mum's house, because I don't think she'd be very happy about that. I mean, I wouldn't have to tell her. You literally can't see them. They're so teeny tiny, but at the same time, I don't think she would be very happy about it. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe how quickly it's getting dark at the moment. It's so sad. I love the light mornings and the light evenings. It's only just after 3:30 here, and already I can see that the light is on its way out. So, meh. I can't wait to spring. Spring is one of my favorite times of the year. I mean, to be honest, so is autumn. I just love like big jumper, big coat weather, snuggly weather. But we haven't really had much of that this year. It's been really quite scarily warm, and oh dear, it's not good. Although I know it's lovely that it is so mild, it's very frightening when you think about what's going on with the planet. So for once, I am actually willing the colds to come on a little bit. Okay, so I've just cable tied 2 bits together so that it will now, I hope, reach the top of the pole. Thank you, Teddy. Feeding the cable ties through and trying to get the end of them is so much more difficult than I thought it would be. Okay, it's kind of sitting, I haven't finished, but it's kind of sitting slightly away from the moss. So I'm hoping, because I haven't pulled it really tightly, I'm hoping that should still do its job and kind of keep all the moisture in. Now I've started and I've cable tied so many, I'm going to carry on this way, but if it doesn't work, then I might have to come back and redo it, which I'm hoping I won't have to do. I will do it this way, try it for a week or so, and then let you know whether it's worked or not. Okay, so I've actually run out of cable ties and I'm pretty much at the top. I'm definitely at the point where all of the nodes meet the moss. So until I can get some more, I think this should do the trick. I'm just going to trim them off and then I'll show you. Okay, so that is what it is looking like. I know it's not the most attractive thing in the world, but you can't tell from the front, and I really do think it's just going to help to keep everything growing the way that I want it to, and hopefully mean that at some point soon, although it scares me, I will be able to chop this plant, and then that will be the new kind of base point of growth, and it will just continue to grow bigger and fuller and healthier. But yeah, it doesn't look amazing. I think if I was to go back and redo, I would do it in the same way as I've done the moss poles in this video and just use plastic on the back. You can actually see all of the humidity there that's contained. So that is definitely the way to do it, but I'm still learning, and this is the way that I've had to do it for this plant. But yeah, I would carry on because I've still got loads to do, but the light is now going. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it is starting to get to the point in here where I might need to put the lights on. So I will wrap up here and I will carry on in another video soon. But I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you got lots done as well if you were doing things along with it. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.